Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Business Incorporated, coming to you live from our Lagos studios. I'm Chimize Obi Iwago. On the show today, Nigeria's annual inflation dips to 13.34% in March. Stenoff raises $313 million from sale of shares in Africa unit. Plus, Ghana to launch first oil exploration licensing round in the fourth quarter of 2018. Well, let's start off the session with the trading day in Africa. And here in Nigeria, the index remained in the positive terrain at intraday after the National Bureau of Statistics reported that the headline inflation continued its downward trend with a sharp decline to 13.34% in March from 14.33% in February. Meanwhile, trading and share price movement resumed today in the shares of embattled listed energy trader Oando Nigeria PLC on the Nigerian Stock Exchange following late Wednesday's regulatory directive. On the market in South Africa, that's the JSE index, was also up 0.13%. However, Egypt lagged as the tension in the Middle East heats up. Kenya closed up on Wednesday. And in the Middle East, most of the markets were down at intraday as fears of an imminent strike on Syria unsettled bourses globally. But Saudi Arabian stocks stabilized after their sell-off late on the previous day. The Saudi index was up 0.21% at midday after plunging 1.9% on Wednesday in the final hour of trade when U.S. President Donald Trump tweeted that missiles will be coming to Syria. Other Gulf markets were in negative territory as they only had a chance to react to the Trump tweet on Thursday. The Dubai index was down 1.23%, hit by property stocks and financials. The Abu Dhabi index was down 0.78%, hit by weakness in banking stocks. First Abu Dhabi Bank slipped 1.2%. Qatari's index was down 1.07%, with commercial banks sinking 3.7%. And in Europe, markets were mixed in early trade as investors' sentiment was curbed by the threat of imminent U.S. military action in Syria. Let's cross over to Frankfurt now, where my colleague there, Daniel Cook, is standing by to tell us more. Hello, Daniel. Good afternoon. A beautiful day to you.
Yeah, beautiful afternoon to you as well, Jimmy. Hope everything over there is fine.
Everything is fine, we thank God. Now, Syria tension seems to be hitting the equities market. Stocks in Asia are down. Are investors already looking for a safer haven?
Yeah, shares, you can see it in the background, Jimmy, have recovered a little bit at least. This is certainly only a snapshot that we are seeing. In general, the market is extremely volatile at the moment. Investors are very much confused. It's an absurd trading, I would even call it. At the moment, U.S. President Donald Trump sent out his last tweets about 2 hours ago saying that he never said when a possible attack on Syria would take place. After this message was tweeted, I can really show it to you. This was the moment when the message was tweeted. Shares here again at the blue chip index DAX were going again up. So the entire market at the moment is so linked to these geopolitical issues that we are seeing at the moment. So right now the mood is again a little bit more optimistic. We are seeing a plus here right now of 0.5%. And yes, you mentioned those safe haven. This was actually very interesting yesterday, because yesterday this topic was even more heated up, and investors during those very uncertain times look for those safe haven. Safe haven here usually for investors are the Swiss franc that was going up. Oil certainly as well. Also the gold price went up also. And also the euro, very interesting. Normally when investors are looking for those safe haven, they also invest in dollars. This was certainly not the case. So as I said, this is just a snapshot of the current situation. I guess we'll have to wait for the next tweet of Mr. Trump.
Well, sure, we have to wait for the next tweet and see what that will turn out to be. Anyway, let's look at some corporate news. Mark Zuckerberg appeared before the Congress the second time. That was on Wednesday. How much do investors think this data leak scandal may have on Facebook's revenue?
Well, I don't know if you had a look at this hearing also, Jimmy. I was watching it, and it was a Mark Zuckerberg that I personally have never seen before. He was wearing a tie and a suit. I mean, he could have started here as a trader on the trading floor. Also, usually we only see him with a T-shirt or a sweater. But, of course, he knows how much right now really depends on how he assures the public that Facebook is taking all of this very seriously. And I can tell you from the investors' perspective that investors are actually relieved. We saw also the share price of Facebook, you know, in the last 2 days actually recovering, because investors do have the feeling that at least he was able to assure to the public. We have to remember that this hearing was watched by millions of people all around the world, and that people were assured that they are taking all of this very seriously. If now really something is going to change, we'll have to wait. It was actually very interesting. He also said that even his personal data was sold to this Cambridge Analytical company in the United Kingdom. I actually thought one of his statements was very interesting when he was saying that really data priority from now on is going to have a very important, that is going to be a really important topic for him, even more important than advertisers, because we'll have to face it. Also in the future, companies like Facebook, Google and Twitter, they're going to make their money with advertisements, with the personal data that we provide for them. And of course, Google and Facebook, they are mostly specialized on this individualized advertisements. And of course, this could be harmed when those companies, those advertisement companies, won't get any more as much data from us as they have gotten so far. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting how all of this is going to unfold, and if people going to trust Facebook and again more. By the end of this month in April, we'll be getting more information about how many users are still on Facebook and how many minutes they actually spend in average on the platform. This number is even more important for advertisers. And yes, there has been this campaign going on, this hashtag delete Facebook. Facebook so far has said that they have not been really harmed by this latest problems. But yes, those numbers will be avoided also here from investors.
Well, I guess that's an interesting story. We'll just have to keep following, Daniel. Now, let's look at M&A market. T-Mobile and Sprint are rekindling their merger talks. Do you think these two will eventually be together?
It's like, you know, when you're dating somebody, you know, it's like you want to be with this person, but somehow it seems to be impossible. I guess we all, you know, have had similar experience like that in the past. And it seems to be the case also now with Sprint and T-Mobile. They have been dating for such a long time, meeting, you know, having dates, you know, to describe it in these words. But somehow they have not really found together. Now we're hearing that they are again talking. As an immediate result, shares of Deutsche Telekom, that's the parent company here of T-Mobile, they were actually jumping high because for T-Mobile it would be a very good deal to take over or to merge with Sprint. Sprint is a very interesting company for them in general. The market in the United States for Deutsche Telekom and T-Mobile, very, very interesting. At the beginning, when they first started to operate on the US market, they had some issues. They didn't have the network coverage that their customers were expecting, but all of this has been solved. So yes, this merger from a business perspective will be very interesting. Let's see if this final marriage, or at least getting together at the end eventually, will happen.
We can only hope for the best. Let's just hope that that marriage eventually happens. Oh, thank you very much for your time, Daniel. Enjoy the rest of the day.